Also, C-Spire text line, all caps, you are yelling at us. Will Mike Bianco be back next year?
I feel like if we knew the answer, we'd have led the show with that.
Well, we'll know Monday. And if we don't answer Monday, we'll know a week later.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really that simple. It's an uncomfortable thing to talk about. And I've heard from some Ole Miss fans that have not liked how open I've been about the reality. But, I mean, would you rather somebody dance around it or tell you the truth? Yeah. If their name is not called on Monday, it's done.
Yeah. And you may not get an announcement on Monday because you've got SEC meetings going on and Keith Carter is going to be at those and, maybe it's sometime middle of next week. If Ole Miss makes the tournament, there's not going to be an announcement for at least another week.
Yeah. And if they get eliminated in a regional in Palo Alto, California, it's done. If they happen to win that regional, things get really weird. But
yes. Yeah. I mean, I lean in the direction at this point that a change is probably going to happen.
Look, Jim Schlossnagle didn't tweet what he did without there being an acknowledgement or conversations going on behind the scenes.
I think the bottom line is the season has to finish. The season has to come to an end, and that's when you'll figure it out. Because until it comes to an end, you don't know exactly how it's going to end, and how it is going to end affects what the decision is. If Ole Miss gets to a super regional, I would say it's kind of a coin flip, and I would lean in the direction of Mike Bianco is back next year as the head coach at Ole Miss if they get to a super regional. If they get bounced in a regional, I would lean in the direction of Ole Miss probably goes a different direction. And if they don't make the tournament, I don't even think there's much of a debate. So, you asked the question pointedly, will Mike Bianco be back next year? There's your straightforward answer.
I was talking to a friend about it this morning. It's a weird thing to talk about because, I've only lived in this state. I say only. It's been 12 years since I moved here for the first time. Been a pretty significant time. I mean, I was educated here, was married here, my son was born here. I'm kind of all Mississippi, man. But, this guy that I was talking to, my friend, he's 30 like me, and he only remembers anyway, Mike Bianco coached Ole Miss baseball. And he said, regardless of how I feel about it, and I'm not going to make his opinions known, it's a common feeling, though. He said, it is going to be weird if this does go down and next year there's literally anybody else walking out of that dugout. It's going to be very weird.
That's how it is.
That's
how it is when you have a long-time coach. That's how it is.
Can I just be completely sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, that's how it is when you have a long-time coach. For Mississippi State, it was weird that first year that Ron Polk wasn't in the dugout, and it was Pat McMahon. It was weird not seeing Rick Stansberry on the sidelines, not seeing Jackie Sherrill on the sides. When you have a coach who's there a decade plus, and now we're talking 2 decades plus with Bianco, even if it had ended well, he had gone off on a good note, it would still be weird to look down there and see somebody else other than him at the top of the dugout.
Yeah. I've had a couple of moments of nostalgia in the last few days. I thought walking out of the ballpark on Saturday, did an era just come to an end at Swayze Field? And then I had that thought kind of walking out of the ballpark at 1:30 this morning in Hoover. Did an era just come to an end, period? And I don't know the answer to that yet. Donald says that we do know the answer and that we're kind of tiptoeing around it and that in the baseball. Here's what Donald says. He says Keith Carter has not kept it totally a secret in the baseball community he has said there is going to be a change without actually saying it. Bianco is done.
But
if
they make a run, you can't if they somehow make a run to a super regional, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Let's say
I agree with that. Keith Carter would not be doing his job as an athletics director if he wasn't preparing for all of the scenarios. And so if he thinks there is a possibility that he has to hire a baseball coach in the next few weeks, he certainly should have been doing some work behind the scenes. My assumption is that he has been doing some work behind the scenes in the event that he has to go that route. Similarly, he has not made a decision because if Ole Miss were to make a run to a super regional, which means first they got to get in the tournament and then they've got to go win a regional, so that's a couple of big hurdles to cross, then it gets complicated. It gets really complicated at that point. And so, yes, Donald, I think what you're saying is true. It's just not – it's not done.
Kind of reminds me of what happened with State, in 18 where you thought that they were going to, be bumped in the regionals, and they kept winning, and so it kept prolonging the search. I still don't know for a fact that Chris Lemonis would have been the head coach here if Mississippi State had gotten knocked. If Elijah McNamee swings and misses, I don't know that Chris Lemonis is the head baseball coach at Mississippi State.
That was the Gary Henderson year?
Yeah.
Why do you say that? Because of
it's just rumor, but there was a lot of smoke around Jim Schlossnagle, and then the fact they had to keep delaying it. He just finally reached a point where he's just like, eh.
Yeah.
Again, that's just rumor. None of it's substantiated.
I know Mike probably follows closer and watches more baseball than maybe even the three of us combined. And he sends me this message that says, not for me, Mike is 100% gone even if he wins the College World Series. Mike, I can tell you with 100% certainty that whoever told you that is wrong.
I'm going to say this as a Mississippi State fan. I don't want Ole Miss to win a national championship. But I would love to see Ole Miss win a national championship and then fire the coach that won it. Because I want to know what kind of Rick Ray hire y'all are going to make after that.
Well, I think he's saying that there will be some open jobs that he will take. I mean, I had a friend from South Carolina ask me about Mike Bianco last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's floating around out there. South Carolina doesn't have a job opening right now. I think they're going to. I talked to someone yesterday who said they weren't 100% sure that Ray Tanner was going to pull the trigger on that. There are a lot of people that think the Kentucky job is going to open. Talked to some people that said they weren't 100% sure that Mitch Barnhart was going to pull the trigger on that.
There are a lot of South Carolina people who don't think Ray Tanner should be the guy allowed to pull the trigger.
You're right.
That's another issue there.
That is another issue that is going on. And Mike, please understand, I'm not talking down to you when I say that. I just know for a fact. I mean, might Mike leave on his own? Yeah, I guess that's a possibility. But nothing is 100% at this point. Nothing is. Sports Talk Bianco. George in Oxford says, thanks for the Coach Bianco update and input. Leaning away from Coach, that is what we need. Why not talk about the elephant in the room? Brian and Mike's update, make a run. Are you kidding me? And, oh, Hillary is going to jail. Oh, thanks for that tag on the end there.
I mean, did we say that was going to happen?
No, I don't think anybody was predicting that was going to happen.
I think they are more likely to not make the tournament than make a run in the tournament. There's your take of the day.
But again, George, the reality is every year some team that you didn't expect to do it makes a run. And this is an Ole Miss team that is talented. It's an Ole Miss team that swept LSU in Baton Rouge a week and a half ago. I mean, if you win game one, you win game two, you've only got to win one more game in a regional situation. and you look up and you're in a super regional. And if that were to happen, then things get weird. But again, there are two things that have to happen before that could happen. One, you got to get in the tournament. And that is very much up in the air. And once you're in the tournament, you got to win a regional to get to a super regional. And that's even more up in the air. Donald in Oxford says baseball coaches as ADs are a bad look.
It was an interesting decision in Columbia. I mean, Dawn Staley's Dawn Staley in one run from Frank Martin has kind of saved that athletic department, because otherwise it's been kind of a disaster since they made that decision.
Yeah, Burtman had a good run at LSU, by and large. Tanner, I don't feel has been good. I mean, like Borky said, this is a man who hired Will Muschamp and then set up a contract to give Will Muschamp like a $40 million buyout, so that's just not smart. I think John Cohen, it's still TBD. We're still figuring him out.
Yeah. Mike Bianco has had 20-plus years. He's had good teams and has built a good program, but he has a ceiling. It's time to reach for bigger things. Okay.
And I understand that. I mean, that's what makes this such a unique circumstance in sports. Because in college sports, not anymore anyway, you're not given the chance to build like this anyway. But I've had somebody say to me before that crediting Mike Bianco for what the program is now is foolish because they would have built the stadium and the facilities and stuff anyway. And I don't really buy that. I don't think that they would have left Swayze as it was 22 years ago. I think they would have invested in it. The facilities would have been better and stuff. But all those things only happened because winning was happening, which is not something the program really did. So I don't buy that. We said it a few weeks ago in this, every time this conversation comes up, he has become a victim of his own success. The only reason why it's such an attractive job, which it is because of him and his success and the sustainability. He's shown it. Over 2 decades, he has shown that you can win at Ole Miss, and fans will support it, and there's money there. And in the NIL era, there actually is a chance that baseball players can get a little bit. That's how much Ole Miss fans care about it. That's a direct credit to him. So, long story short, you just hope it goes well. I mean, a split never really goes well. There's going to be hurt feelings. There's never a mutual breakup, right? Somebody's heart's broken, even if they don't show it out loud or show it openly. But for 2 decades plus to be as consistently good as they were, the send-off should be one of great respect and admiration for the job that was done. You can expect more and make a change because you think you can get more, because truthfully you can, and also understand that the last 2 decades and 2 years were incredibly well done at the same time.
If Ole Miss makes a coaching change and they are able to go out and get a marquee coach, it is because of what Mike Bianco has created in the 22 years that he's been the head coach of the program. Jeff says, if I was the Rebel Athletics director, the first phone call I would place would be to Dan McDonald. It's McDonald. Sorry for being English guy. But, we might as well get that right now. Number 2, Jeff, out of respect for Mike Bianco and the fact that he is still the head baseball coach at Ole Miss, I'm not going to do it yet. If Ole Miss gets to a point where they make a coaching change, I'm going to give you 4 names. And I firmly believe that the next head baseball coach, if we get to that point, will be one of those 4 names. Okay? But I'm not doing it yet. I'm not. And if that means somebody else puts those 4 names out there before I do, congratulations to them. I mean, if that means whatever. If it gets scooped, we get scooped. Fine. I got 4 names right now that if a change is made, I think one of those four will be the next head baseball coach at Ole Miss, but it hasn't happened yet, and so I'm not doing that to Mike Bianco. I'm just not.
It's fair. It's very,
but
very
I promise
fair.
you, I will if we get to that point. George Washington built America. If he ran for office today, he wouldn't be considered. It's time to move on, and you have to move with it.
You know,
That's
I agree.
That's a bit of a reach on that analogy, but okay.
I think he's right, though. The way that politics operated back then and the way you conducted yourself as a politician back then doesn't win anything now.
Schools only build things for winners, not losers.
That's right.
Cohen's grade is a C. C, women's basketball coach, football coach, and baseball coach before Lamonis. It's hard to do.
Yeah. We'll get to it at some point. So I guess I'm the reason that it got derailed. But Lane Kiffin had a fascinating quote about the whole building things for coaches. Basically said, stop. Don't. Because it doesn't matter. Yeah. Whatever money you're sinking into your facilities, stop. Because it's got to go to the players or else you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, you're hitting on something, Borky, that I've been thinking about for a little while now is whatever your current facilities are, I hope they're pretty good. Hope you've gotten them to a place where you feel good about sitting tight for a few years because it feels like all of the investment is about to go somewhere beside bricks and mortar.
As it should, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. You won't say the list, but you already made the list. Go on.
It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Sorry to upset you.
It's extremely hard to talk about these things when it hasn't happened yet. Like there's no opening to discuss. So how can you, in good faith, with the platform that you have, give a list when there's no job that the list would be applied to? It's a delicate balance.
Yeah. Sports Talk Mississippi with you, streaming at supertalk.fm and supertalktv.com. You can always be a part of the conversation on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4399.